It's been a long, exhausting day. Your troubles just won't go away. One thing that gets you through these is watching cheesy holiday movies. You think that you're above them, but you know that you love them. So get ready to listen. Now here comes Kevin and Kristin. Oh yeah.
Let me put my glasses on for this. Welcome to Remark, a very special Remark, if I might add, because on today's episode, we have the star of Cranberry Christmas, Long Lost Christmas that you just saw this past weekend, Benjamin Ayres.
Kevin made a mistake.
He did.
What are you gonna do?
Literally our favorite thing to say on this show is Kevin.
Well, I mean, it's always hard because my last name makes everybody dyslexic. Where does the E go, the R, and so and there's some other Ben Ayres out there where it's spelled a little bit differently. He's receiving a lot of email Zoom links.
Oddly
He's
enough,
going to sign in. Yeah,
he's going to sign in soon. Yeah. My family. This is confusing. My stepdad's last name is Ayres, but his is Ayers.
ERS.
So we're not related, but I don't know.
Okay, well, somewhere far back. So yeah, well, it's all from the same. It's all from the same original Ayres. Now, even our writer of Long Lost Christmas, not from the book. Joan Kilby wrote the book, but the original script was from Nancy Ayres. I don't know Nancy, but for you see your name and you're like, no, I didn't know her before, but
you could be.
We wondered. Yeah. It's so funny. We wondered that too. So is it a common? Is it more common than we are used to? I guess.
No, I don't see it very often. No. Okay. And what was interesting was I even had an audition for a show. I forget what it was, but the character's last name was Ayres, and I was like, it's jarring when you see it. You're like, did they write this for me? And then even worse when you don't get it. You're like, guys, you wrote it for me.
This is me.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah, his name is Ben Ayres. We're looking for a Ben Ayres type.
He needs to be slightly taller.
That's right.
I think they said that about what's that real good looking dudes from like the High School Musicals? They're like, we're looking for this type of guy. He's like, no one called me about it, and that's what they're looking for. I don't understand.
Yeah, I know that happens. That's always great.
It's funny you're talking names though, because I kind of looked into this too, Chris. We reviewed the movie, and during the review, your character's name is Jake, but on IMDb it says Blake. And I was like, what? And then I looked it up, and in the book it was Blake, and then it's
correct.
Jake. The movie.
I had to even reach out to, and it can be confusing because even Hallmark was when they originally were promoting it, kept saying like Blake, and I was like, Blake's the book, Jake's the script.
Yeah.
My name's Ben.
That's great. That's perfect.
No, good, Kevin. Then you weren't wrong on that one. We thought during the review last night, I was like, Kevin, don't you know the character's name? It's Jake, and then IMDb put Blake. So.
Blake, and then you want to go back. Well, and I don't know who updates those. Like, who updates IMDb? Just people, right? So
I don't know.
There's not like an official. I don't think somebody at Hallmark is just updating IMDb. I think it's a little bit like Wikipedia, where it's just people can do what they want. Like, I'd like to know. Like, there's a random photo of me on Wikipedia, and it was like from like the one and only convention I did 1 billion years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just the weirdest photo of me. And I'm like, how do I change that?
Like,
I don't know.
That's what Julie Sherman Wolf said the other day. She was like, every time someone keeps reusing this same photo from like a premiere of a movie she wrote, and she's like, I hate it. So then she like did like some like MacGyver work and tracked down who could change it. And it's like, it's so insane that you have no choice, obviously, of how you're represented like in pictures, which is awful.
It is awful. And even for these movies, like we sort of get, we'll do the gallery shoot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go through and get this kind of like delete. It's called photo killing. So you go through and you kill all the photos that you get photo kill approval. That's like a thing you get in your contract. So you go through and kill all the photos that you don't want out there.
Yeah.
And then, but sometimes you almost don't have enough and you're like, well, they're not going to use the blinking one or the one where I look ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
And then somehow that one will sometimes creep up.
If I was able to, because I'm a member or user or whatever, Wikipedia, if I'm able to put a picture in, would you be okay with the turkey hat one.
The
'Cause
turkey hat would be great. That's
I will
another one
try.
where you're like, that thing is really out there just circulating. And
Yeah.
It will
yeah,
be forever.
it will be forever. And I
Agreed.
don't, if I recall, like it wasn't even in the script he puts on a turkey hat. It was just they were putting on silly hats, and
Yeah.
props found that one and thought it was funny. But if I recall, even there was no like I remember when we did the rehearsal, that wasn't there. And then they just kind of were like, well, we're gonna need some silly hats. They were just like regular hats, then some silly, we started pulling them from other places, and then that turkey hat now is
That's wonderful.
very famous.
Legend. Absolutely.
Legend has it, yeah.
That too would have been what I first navigated to as well. So well done choosing.
Yeah.
Out of the
Well, we also had another one, which I think because we actually had, it was one of those like montages of putting on a bunch of different hats, and I think that the montage didn't quite work. It was like they put on a couple and then they move on.
Yeah.
But we had those ones, and Taylor had never seen them before, and I'm aware of them because of my kids, where it's like you put them on and there's like the long ears that come down and there's like little pumps in them, so they
yeah.
kind of move. So I had it on, and and the look on her face when it moved, it like freaked her out, but also anyway, it was great. It was very
that's
natural. And then
delightful.
she's like, "Does mine do that?"
She ended up with the best hat like that. I mean, obviously it's all wardrobe. It's not, really laying out on that table like that. But the hat she has with the sweater, it was like
The coat.
yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. Doesn't matter what you put on Taylor.
No,
Cole,
that's correct.
true.
Everything
That is
looks great. It's very specific for me, though. I'm like, I can't wear that. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. I'm only look good in a turkey hat and dark
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah, you get hat kill approval as well.
That's right. Yeah.
That would be amazing. Well, we did. We reviewed this film last night. We gave it 2 thumbs up, all of
Right.
us. We hear from other friends that like these shoots are like 15 days.
Correct.
Is that accurate? Is that sort of like Hallmark's staple of like this? We did this in 15 days.
Yeah, that's most MOWs now. I would even say for Lifetime and all of these, they've figured out they can be done in 15 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so most television movies are 15 days. There sometimes you'll get a 20-day shoot, but I don't think I've been on one. They're usually all 15 days.
Yeah.
Once the formula is there and the producers realize it can be done, why spend more money? You just get
Yes.
it done. So
Correct.
there will be adjustments that have to be made from the original script usually, because all of a sudden you're like, well, you have too many exteriors and due to weather or whatever, but it's always adjusting. We'll get into it in a bit, but I'm in Vancouver right now filming a movie, and it got greenlit very quickly because the leaves are still on the trees and it's a
Yeah.
fall harvest. So they got to shoot it in prep for next year
Got you.
to air. And the first week was great, corn mazes and all the stuff you want. And then this week it's raining all week. So they've got to adjust the script.
They'll
In fact,
switch some of the
new
exterior
pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like now you kind of have to write it in, or you kind of have to work around it, or we'll wait and see on the day what's going to happen. But it's hard. It's hard rain. Have you guys ever been to Vancouver?
No. I
So this is-
really let's get a view. Let's see what.
Let's get a
like
view.
this.
So
Sure.
this hotel we're at is where every actor stays. It's called it's like I mean, whatever. It's the Sutton Place. Every actor's here. Like literally,
Yeah.
like I was at the gym today. Like Joel McHale is down there. Like every
wow.
actor who's in the city is just here.
Yeah.
But it's raining.
Beautiful.
It's just
Oh.
it's
wow.
wet and gray,
Yeah.
and it was not like this yesterday. It's
But
nice.
you
It's a
still have that
beautiful.
gorgeous orange tree down there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, check this out. Oh yeah, those leaves fell literally last night. But
Oh,
yeah,
those
no,
are
it's
pretty. That's still
all
very...
those trees just fell. Wow, all the leaves. So
Oh.
I'm glad we were able to take advantage of it, because I remember
Yeah.
when we shot Falling for Vermont, which was my second film I did, and it was a fall harvest, and there weren't a lot of trees, so there were these fake trees that kept getting moved right in behind us and I remember the reviews being like, what's with the same 4 trees behind Ben's head in every scene?
I assume they have like second units too that go out, although it does seem, I mean, again, kind of with the 15-day and what works as far as production, you see a lot of the same B-roll for second unit shots.
I was gonna say there's a lot of stock footage, right?
Yeah.
Like I actually didn't see in Canada, it doesn't air the same time as it does in the US. So Long Lost Christmas, they sent me a link, but it wasn't a finished link, so I could tweet along.
Yeah.
I've since seen it, so I hadn't seen the stock images, and they're wonderful. Like coming into Silver Valley, that
Yeah.
shot they had, I was like, what a beautiful, quaint little town. And it actually looked a little bit like Harrison Hot Springs, a bit bigger, but had the lake on the one side. And you know, that kind of drone shot, helicopter shot of coming into the city and then her rolling in the car really gives a sense of location, right?
Right.
Oh,
Like you
absolutely.
need
I
those
think
cutaways.
those are almost one of the tropes of these movies. Like they should add those to the bingo cards that people play when watching these
Yeah,
movies.
right.
Is like beautiful, like aerial shot of town that I want to go there moment. Of
Right.
like, this is where I want to get my coffee and hot chocolate.
Right. But also you're like, they also use that in and you can
That's correct.
rattle off
Yes.
whatever.
There's like a
small town it
classic
was.
snowy one that's like trees. And I think Kevin's used it for some of our stuff. And it's in some of the movies. I was like, someone's B-roll was really getting
really. Yeah, they're getting paid a lot. Well,
No, man, I think it's a one and done. Whoever flew that drone, it was a one-time deal. And
yeah, that's right. Somebody will eventually get it.
it's funny, Chris and I talk about, we're big Marvel fans too, so we talk about the MCU, and now we have the HCU, so the Hallmark Cinematic Universe. But you have kind of a foot in both of those universes when you count the, they acquired Fox for MCU with the Fantastic Four movie.
That was one of my first experiences on a big set, or even I think it was one of my first experiences on a show. And I had done a lot of theater up to that point. And I remember when I got, you'll love this. I got to set. So they call it the circus. The circus is where all of the trailers are. That's just heading to circus is where all the trailers are. The cast is so massive. They've all got like these huge trailers.
Yeah.
And it was such a big budget film. And I've not been on one since, that the circus itself was like a small town. And they film so slowly. It's like half a page a day, where we're filming sometimes 10 to 12 pages a day.
Yeah.
And they'll spend, sometimes a week on a scene. And I remember when I got there the first day, I go to Crafty. Crafty's where all the food is, and there's an acting teacher that I know. It's wonderful. This wonderful actress, Gina Shirelli. She's like, Ben, congratulations! This is a big gig. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to be here. She goes, do you know the secret to these big movies? I was like, no. What's the secret to these big movies? She goes, stay in your trailer. They'll forget about you. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, it just moves so slowly. They'll forget you're even here. They just get paid for the day. And I was like, what? So I got this small little trailer, VHS tapes. This is how long ago we're talking.
Yeah.
I brought a bunch of movies with me and I wouldn't leave. And I remember at some point I was there one day, like 14 hours. It was like being in a small prison, but I, got all the food, got all the food. I remember like opening my trailer and then like somebody was like, Ben, are you still here? And I was like, yeah. They're like, oh, we don't even need you today. You can go. I made so much money and I wasn't even in the movie. Like I was in the movie for such a brief second. And what happened was they kind of had these couple lines and the director was great. And he's like, there might be this other moment where I'm going to get you to open the door or come in. They just kind of wanted me there just in case anyway. So I was just there.
That's amazing.
And I remember, it was a little intimidating. You walk in and there's like, fan of all those actors, and to be there for the blocking and the director and hear them trying to figure it all out. And I'm just kind of there quietly, and then they're running lines. And I have my like one line, whatever, but that was pretty cool.
But you logged more time than so many of them being there for 14
yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I'm sure they just rolled up and rolled out the moment they could.
That's right.
Kevin, I have a question though for Ben. And also, do you prefer Benjamin or Ben? I just want to make sure we're referring Ben.
Mr. Ayres is fine.
Mr. Ayres is also fine? Great.
Yeah.
Kristin's desperate for us all to be friends. So Chris, Kev, Ben, we're just hanging out.
We're just hanging out.
That's right.
So you've been on also 4 of my other favorite all-time shows. You have been on Kids in the Hall, Schitt's Creek, Supernatural, and Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
I am very, very
all right.
jealous.
Let's go through it. Let's go through them. Ready? Okay.
Please.
So Kids in the Hall, obviously huge fan of Kids in the Hall, comedy icons.
Yes.
I was on a TV series for a long time called Less Than Kind, which shot in Winnipeg, and the showrunner of it was Mark McKinney. So we're good friends, and we're currently developing a TV series. And that was one of those situations where he just called and said, do you want, and I was like, dude, I will literally be background, like whatever you have for me, I'm down. And he goes, yeah, it's just a thing you'll take up from
yeah,
I was blank face. It was amazing, and it was very stressful actually, because he kind of changed the lines. I remember he added this bit where he's like, you take your mask off and you say, then they changed it because I had an ADR it. I'm a handsome man. He wanted me to add this bit where, well, I'm a handsome man. And he didn't tell the guys yet that. So we're doing the rehearsal of it, and I take it off and I add this like, well, I'm a handsome man. And they turn around and look at me like, what the f- does this guy think he is? Walking in here, just adding this, like, what are you talking about? It's not in the script, the thing. And Mark was like, oh, I should mention, I thought that'd be funny. And they were like, yeah, I guess, okay. Anyway, and then in the end, I forget what they changed it to. I'm a man. I thought that'd be funny. Well, I'm a man. So we had to change it a bit. Very cool experience. But it was a very high stakes.
Yes, I would. Yeah,
there was a lot of energy going on, and it's always harder too when you're in a scene when you don't start the scene. So you're kind of at some point you just like jump into the scene. Yeah, and you want to make sure you're matching the energy, but you're also not stealing the energy. And it's not about you; it's about them. But it is about you. You know, like there's so much going on in your head.
I think I bring this up with everyone. I think it's Kevin and I's humble brag is that we do improv professionally. I'm using
that's not something to humble brag about.
Come on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
We do improv, and that's literally like when we do a third person entrance into a scene, that's literally what we're thinking. We're like, okay, I have to match the energy, I have to make them look good, but also I want to be good. And it's like this moment of like this like external crisis of like, should I even enter? But like with like sketch and like scripted stuff, you're like, well, here I come.
Yeah, here I come. And in that one in particular too, it's, you know, I didn't realize there'd be so many backgrounds. So we all had to do this dance thing. And you know, they're like, this is the guy that's going to come out and say, you know, and then they're going, why that guy? Right? Like, who's this guy? So you're kind of back there dancing, and then you kind of walk in and peel off and do it. It was a great experience. And I've had so many people be like, dude, you wrote Kids in the Hall. Like lots of people reached out. Yeah, it was really cool. Now, Vampire Diaries. Let's go to Vampire Diaries. Vampire Diaries, the pilot was shot in Vancouver. And the series, I think, was supposed to be shot in Vancouver. So I got a call. They're like, there's this TV series they want you to audition for called The Vampire Diaries. I was like, cool, am I a vampire? Like, no, you're a teacher. And I was like, sweet. That's like, no, but like a werewolf teacher? They're like, no, just like teaches English or whatever. I'm like, all right, fine. Because I felt at that time, I was like, I'm too young to play a teacher. Oh, yeah. But I didn't realize they were as young as they were. So auditioned for it, booked that. We shoot the pilot. I knew a bunch of the crew. It was like, I was like, oh, this would be a fun show to get to be on, you know, continue to shoot it in Vancouver. And then kind of didn't hear anything about it. I booked a series in Toronto. We moved to Toronto. And then I got a call. They're like, they picked the Vampire Diaries up. And I was like, oh, that's great. Does that mean I got to go back to Vancouver? They're like, well, no, they want you to come back for like 3 episodes, but they shoot it in Atlanta. Oh, yeah. I was like, Atlanta? Okay. So they moved the whole thing to Atlanta. They were like really the first ones to go down there and start filming. Okay. And then, I went, it was what a cool experience. I'd never been before. It was super hot down there, and got to go down for, you know, I went back and forth for, Warner Brothers, like, got me a visa in like 2 days. I bet. I was on a plane down there. It was like, it's like the signed thing. That's like Warner Brothers, Ben Ayres, visa, Atlanta, go. Yep. And then, it was fun to get to go down. And, you know, at that point, the show hadn't aired yet. So they were all, you know, unsure. Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, it was great. Yeah, it was a fun experience.
That show had like almost as many seasons as Supernatural did.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Supernatural actually might have been my very first thing I did. I kind of can't remember it. I remember on the day going like, oh, you guys are tall too. That's like my memory.
Jared Padalecki is like a monster in a good way. He's like really tall.
But that's really awesome. Tall, yeah. Like, and they were like taller than I. Like, at 6'2", I'm usually the tallest one. It was nice to see like leading guys are over 6'2". So I can hardly remember it. Like one of those again. I think it was like within the first couple seasons.
Right. I've watched that series 9,000 times. Yeah. And I'm going to admit to you, it's a long show. I have a lot of time that probably should be doing this. But like, was it something that you realized, like, did you forget you had done that? And then one day you were like, that show's still on? I was on that show.
100%. And I kind of don't even think of it as I was on that show. Like those smaller roles just sort of exist. And then you get reminded that you were like, oh yeah, right. That. I don't think of it as anything substantial on that show.
It's almost like the equivalent to a Law and Order in the US, Like if
You're
you've
right.
been on a Law and Order, like you probably aren't like, yeah, but it feels like these Canadian shows are sort of that brilliance for all of you to kind of get your footing and then.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of those. I guess they're the CW shows, but there were a lot of sci-fi shows in Vancouver when I started out here. So it was like you kind of, you sort of did the Stargates and the Stargate Atlantis and
You did Lost Girl too. Yeah.
oh yeah, Lost Girl was great. Lost Girl was a director. He had done a bunch of episodes of Saving Hope, and it was he called me, goes, hey, there's this really cool part on Lost Girl. I'd love you to come play it. And it was kind of one of my first offers.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And he sends it to me, and I was like, wow, this is like big and broad, and I wonder if I should do an accent. I feel like I need a wig. They got a wig for me. Like I just kind of went, and then I remember, and I know Chris Holden Reed, and I remember I was a little nervous kind of on the very first, as we started filming it, and I was like, this guy's kind of from the past, but I'm like, who is this dude? And I remember we rehearsed the first scene, and he's like, dude, I feel like instinctually you mentioned you want to do an accent, just make up an accent and do it. I was like, you're right, I'm just gonna do it. So I just all of a sudden kind of added this whole thing, and there was like a song, and anyway, it was big and fun. And that was cool. And
At that point, were you like, I'm offer only
there. I do try it a lot, and it wasn't from that point. There are a lot of roles that I do play that for sure, where it's like, it's part of the team too, right? Like we've gotten used to that within Hallmark. It is kind of, I joked about it online that it's like the bat call, but it really is. You're kind of just like going about your day. There's a phone call. We need you here Monday. You're like, done. I'll be there. We already will have our half bag packed, ready, gone.
Yeah. That's my dream. And
it's pretty cool. And and in particular, this year, like I had already done, Long Lost Christmas and Color My World Love, and I had shot a series in Vancouver. So I had spent 4 months in Vancouver this year, and was very much ready to be done for the year. Was back home, was like really just like baking bread in the mornings and taking my kids to and from school and doing all the things. I was like, the year's done. So to all of a sudden have flown out here again was a great gift, and disruptive at first, but I'm happy to be here. And
I mean, that's when you go, like, do your kids ever get to come and see you on set or anything like that? Or
that's a good question, actually. When I was on Saving Hope, they used to come to set. That was that one was kind of easier because it was in Toronto. But when they came out this year during the summer, because we try to spend the summers in Vancouver. I've got family here and a lot of family and friends. I was on a show called Family Law, and it's like not my show, and it would feel weird to bring your family to it. Like it's got to be a show you're really comfortable on. If I was shooting a Hallmark one, for sure I would bring them out.
Be comfortable.
Probably put them in the background in a shot or something.
Right,
like
exactly.
That,
That's what
We want to talk though really fast about this because Chris was obsessed with this, specifically in Long Lost Christmas, the Snowman situation. And the reason is going back quite a few years, the movie Christmas with the Darlings, there is a very creepy snow person it's a person in the suit walking through, and we posted about it. People lost their minds online. We're like, yeah, what is that? It was just really creepy.
Like, we just want to know what that extra's the motivation was. He was just floating behind the main actor, like through the whole scene. So Snowman have been a what do we call it? An arch nemesis?
I think so.
Right.
I don't know. So I told Kevin, I literally like spit taped when you got to punch that snowman.
Yeah, we did that in multiple ways. Like at first I was like, I think it's funny that we don't see it and it comes in quickly and it's real sight gag. And I think we did some versions where just like, but then we're like, well, where's it? And and there was a real, it had to come at a certain time. Yeah. So behind him was a guy pushing it, right? But then no, we see your hand now. Yeah. So we had to use it just to get that gag to work. And then, okay, well now we have to use, so is it, what's happening here? Is it a wind gust or is it just deflating and falling?
We think it's actually attacking you.
I think
that's just it. The snowman also needs an intention, and you're right. Yeah. I think the snowman was like, this new girl's mine, coming in. It
was both of your reactions were so good that we even toyed with the idea of, was this supposed to happen or did it happen on the day? And they're like, listen, 15 days, let's keep it. It looks
just
good.
keep it going. Yeah.
And that's a
Now-
credit to giving the
Oh, yeah.
snowman intention, to giving, it was so
That's
believable.
right. We
thought you
about every
improvised it.
moment. That's right. Yeah. No, it was great. And then I think originally in the script it was like I fall on it or like we fall into it, like one of those like maybe catch it. I can't remember what it was, you know, and it was like, well, that's not really going to work. You know, it might work on paper, but then you get there, this isn't going to quite work. So having this thing just fall into frame, and then his heroics of saving her, and then that cute little beat, but then referring to it as that, and then her making the cookies. Like, it was a pretty fun little, you know, run between the two of them. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing we discussed a lot was all of the like, obviously I'm assuming written in moments of get closer to me, or almost that you were like pimping out an almost kiss or pimping out an almost something. And it was like hilarious that it was written in there. And then like you just cleaned like icing off of her face. And it was like, Kevin and I live for that stuff.
I will tell you that I added all those only because I just thought let's do an almost kiss every time.
Yes.
And it's why I thought, I was like, you know, it would be great. Like everybody says once they kiss, it's about time they kiss.
Yes.
So when we kiss, I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to pull back and I'm going to say it's about time.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's wanted it, but this is also for the audience.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think it's a great little ad lib to it, you know, which is it's about time.
It was
and then
brilliant.
go back in for the
Yes,
kiss.
it is. We're all just waiting for it.
And you know, there was of course, we're like, are we playing this beat too much? And I was like, well, let's do it sometimes and then other times not. And they can decide, you know, when and not choose. But specifically at the meteor shower, it kind of made sense to really, it was once we got there and it was so romantic and it was at night and it just kind of seemed fun, you know, and it's, you know, it's like testing the waters and doing that stuff. Right. But the one that I wasn't sure they would keep in, because we did it both ways. And I think it was the first scene we shot of the film was, you know, we're walking and talking, looking for the Christmas trees. And I said, I think I found the one.
Yeah.
The tree. Right. I kind of added, I was like, I want it to be where you're in front of the tree so that I say, I think I found the one. There's a bit of miscommunication. And then, you know,
they kept it.
Cheeky, you take the tree. Because it could have been because it was supposed to be just like, I think I found the tree. And I was like, well, that's like we found the one, and kind of add it and kind of like play that beat a bit. So we did both versions, and so that's why it really kind of plays throughout, which is when they do kiss. You're like, come on, it's about time. Yeah.
I also appreciated a kiss being interrupted by Nelson Wong. So that made me.
Listen, we are the hugest Nelson Wong fan group. It's Kevin and I so far. Absolutely. If you want to join, you're welcome to join.
I have known Nelson for a very long time. We've done films well before the Hallmark universe, and I love Nelson. Yes, I love that he exists in this world. You know, it's cool when you have the players come in that the audience just really knows. I remember trying. We had kind of pitched the idea when we did Cranberry Christmas, Pamela Franks. We were like, what if she exists in this world and is just on the TV in the background and like it's just there, this cool character, this like daytime, you know, talk show host that exists in Hallmark, and she's just in lots of movies, you know.
We talk about that all the time.
Like we literally theorize, and that's what blew our minds when I think it was last year when they kept going into each other's movies. Like Paul was in right. Kept doing that. And I was like, yes, more of that, please. And then we got obviously this weekend's movie. But it's like, do you ever get to, like, I don't know if you're friendly with a lot of the other Hallmark actors. Are you able to be like, hey, what if I was there that day and I served you the coffee? Like, how does that work? Is it just like a phone call and then y'all are like, I'm going to pop in?
Well, we'd all have to be in Vancouver at the same time, and not everybody's here. And then, you know, it does have to be very much coordinated. Like, I know that there are a couple other movies filming right now, but you know, I have today off, like they start next week, but I'll be working all next week. They'd have to shuttle you from one set to the other. It's not as easy. It's kind of actually difficult. I'm assuming, I don't know how they made that work. Maybe the locations were close by and they were like, we should try to do that for the day
Yeah.
because it's fun to do that, any kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Twitter and whatnot light up with the fan base being like, "Oh my god, look at this!" So yeah,
It's
Just the
amazing.
fan base, like it's you guys are all so when I started doing the Hallmark movies, I was kind of unaware of the fan base, and it's just growing over time. And
Yeah.
and these outlets, like you guys, there's so many of these,
Yeah.
yeah.
cool vlogs that are, reviewing these movies and, just spreading the joy of it, and it's awesome. So
Well,
Yeah.
you guys for
Kevin
doing
and
that.
I watched these before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic happened, we were like, well, we definitely have time to watch
Do
all of
something.
them.
Yeah.
Do you want
Right.
to
I think
Well-
that was the impetus for a lot of people, right? It's like,
Yeah.
now we're home, now we're watching them. Why don't we
Yeah.
talk about them?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
also
Right.
something nice as opposed to, we're all living in such a weird world. So
Yeah.
let's watch this fantasy world where we all know a happy ending's coming.
Yeah.
So, and it was one of the things that this film specifically, Long Lost Christmas, Chris and I were talking about this during our review. It was nice that you and Taylor, your characters, never didn't like each other.
Right.
I get the trope of having like two heads butt and let's see them
Yeah.
get together, but it was nice that that wasn't the case here. It's like two people can meet, not quite know each other,
Yeah.
do the dance, and then still get together.
The stakes were warranted for their kind of,
Exactly.
and because for her, it's mostly her push and pull of, really wanting to connect and find family. So,
Right.
that's really what the story is ultimately about. So, and I think, even in watching it myself, because I hadn't seen the whole thing, put together, I was like, oh man, I want to find a long lost relative that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
While it made me want to connect with my family, and that's what I love about it. It also made me want to find a family I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
I know. Like
Yeah.
that's well, we were sort of also breaking down because in the moment where Taylor's character gets like mad once she actually finds out the true answer, and like my reasoning, at least my reasoning behind being like, yeah, I might be mad too, is because she was so hyped up in this, like, I'm gonna find this person. This is probably this person. She never dealt with the truth of what that actually meant. And then when it actually happened, I thought she did it brilliantly of like, wait a minute. I'm mad at this person now because I do know the truth, even though this is what I was looking for. So I loved
Right.
that. I loved that.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. I agree.
Thank you so much. Basically, we objectify the male lead in all of the films because women have been objectified for far too long. So we rate the male lead, their character, but also what their character looks like. So essentially that is the actor. I've
Just the
tried to not
character.
make it
Just the
about the
character.
actor, but more about the character. We rate the character 1 out of 10. It used to be mistletoes, but it's Heine's now because I'm a Tyler Hines fan. So he's a 10, and then like a 1 is like Kevin. So
That's
I would
what-
like to see Kevin be the lead of one of these movies.
Yes!
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
I
think
would
would
really would.
too. So we're gonna do your character, Jake Blake.
Yeah. That's
Jake Blake,
interesting.
yes.
Yeah.
Should we do Blake? It would be a totally different point
Different,
of view.
very different.
Yes. Yeah, the book was a lot different than the script for the character, for sure.
I didn't
there
read
were
the
some
book.
changes.
Yeah, but it felt like the book, based on the stuff I did read about it, that Jake or Blake was not as kind as, I guess he had been hurt too much in the past.
Yeah, the hurt that was in the book wouldn't have translated into the movie in a way, and that's why it's not there. So we had to find justification for him not wanting to move forward, and we found that we had to rewrite that a few different ways, but yeah, it's definitely much different in the book.
Yeah. We gave our ratings last night. I completely forget what we did, Kevin. Do you remember?
I do. You gave a 10. I gave a 9. So
Kevin and Chris, all right.
listen, I'm keeping it real. So the 9.
Kevin always leaves room for improvement. Is
I
what he
do.
does.
Sure.
I-
What would you like? More scruff? What do you guys like? Do you guys like a clean shaven? It's a big deal, right? The guys are
No,
like,
it's please give me scruff, but a shorter haircut. Like your haircut when it's shaved on the sides. Listen.
so here's the
I could go on
thing.
for days.
I love it too, but you know, you can only go because I didn't think I was doing another movie.
Yeah.
I had been cutting my own hair, and just because I don't like when the sides get puffy. So I was, you know, my grandfather was a barber. I had barbers in my life. So I was cutting the side, and I was kind of getting this like really curly mohawk thing. And I was like, this will be fun. I'm just going to do this through the holidays.
Awesome.
And then this movie happened, and I was like, oh shit, like I can't roll in looking like this. So as the guys will tell you, you can't have your hair too short on the sides, because if it's barber short, they have to cut it every 2 days, and then all the little hairs get everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can't have like a skin fade. You sort of have to have, and mine is like kind of borderline. They've had to already cut it once, right? So, and I apologize for that, because I don't want to show up everywhere there's like, you can see the skin. Right. Because there's already a lot going on, and if they're going to be in there with a barber, you know, like it can, it's just annoying. So for continuity, right?
Always keep a slight beard. Kristin always appreciates a whisper of gray. That all of you look at Kevin's whisper of gray.
Yeah, I like
the whisper. That's a shout right there.
You know, they normally kind of, because I don't have any gray hair on my head, but in here I've got a lot, and they'll normally sort of, and I guess. You know, it's funny, you know, you'll get the scripts and it's like late 20s, early 30s. And then like, and then the next draft, it's like 40s guy. Or not, but I think they're always trying to play us down a little bit. So there's a lot of, you know, not too gray or, you know, little bits here and there.
So what do you think you would give Jake, your character, 1 out of 10 heinies? And that can be based on your appearance, how you feel your character looked, or just you can objectify their emotional range. I don't know.
No, I had choice. I like Jake. You know, I think I'd give him a 10. I thought that he, I appreciated the fact that he was able to overcome some of his bigger obstacles. But you know, one thing I really liked about that character is we've all been lost in our life and would love to have somebody there to help us find our path. And that's kind of what Gordon does for him. And ultimately, we're all sort of looking for whatever our purpose is. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the fact that he's found it, I was, you know, I appreciated and really liked that of his character. Yeah. And that, you know, I had a hard time. There was a line where he said, you know, even though I'm just a construction guy. And I was like, not just like, even I, you know, I almost didn't say it. And I may have even done one where I didn't, because I'm like, I don't think he would say that about himself, but I understand that, you know, I understand that he kind of needs to say it. So I found a reason to say it in that moment, even though I don't think he even believed it himself. It was more that he was using it as an excuse to maybe get out of feeling something for somebody, because he doesn't want to get hurt again. So, you know, you find different justifications for saying lines you don't necessarily want to, but I love that he had this passion, you know, and something he didn't even know he was really good at before. Like, that's awesome. Who wouldn't want to find some kind of innate ability within them and wanting to push things forward? And, you know, he really created this cool business with Gordon. Yeah. I'd love to find that again too. You know, like, I think that's pretty cool.
Before we wrap things up, I have to ask this, because like the old school nerd in me, and again, maybe things on Wikipedia are right, maybe they're not. Are you really a relative of Boris Karloff?
Distant relative to Boris Karloff. Yeah, interesting, right? So
amazing.
He started his career in the small town that I live in British Columbia, Kamloops.
Okay.
And he was with a distant relative of mine at the time.
Okay.
So there's this, like, is it blood? No, but there is a lot of people in our family that are like, Boris Karloff is there. And, you know, here's the thing too, it's Arsenic and Old Lace. We did that play when I was in grade 12, and the role I played, I just remember this was Boris Karloff's role.
You did that role?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, my dream role is one of the grandmoms, or the aunts, rather. Oh my God. Oh, that's so cool. My claim to fame is I went to the same acting school as Danny DeVito, but not at the same time.
Right. No, yes. That's love me some Danny DeVito.
The best. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Can we plug some social media sites for you or any other projects you have coming up?
Well, I don't know if I'm not allowed to talk about
Yeah,
what
don't
we're
do that.
doing right now. Maybe off the record, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. But are you guys doing the New Jersey Christmas Con?
Yes,
This is, yes.
I will be
You
there.
both are? Chris is going. Okay, great.
Will be there.
Just me.
Okay.
Kevin's daughter's birthday is always that weekend, and
Yeah.
kids come
Oh.
first.
Yep, I
get
know. Well, there was a fun thing in New York with the Hallmark gang, and
Yes.
at that time, my daughter was competing in jiu-jitsu, so I stayed back because I
Aw,
had
good
to watch
dad.
that. But yes, there's a family first. So, but this will be my first con, so I'm excited to go.
Awesome.
It's listen, there's like everyone is so nice. Last year was my first one. And just as like a experience of waiting in line at regular Comic-Cons, like meeting Tom Hiddleston and different like Marvel people, they're all like-minded and kind people. So waiting in these lines, getting to know these other people and why they're fans of all of you is like the coolest thing. I can't even imagine it from your end of things. It's probably, you're going to be blown away by just love and joy.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, when we were shooting Long Lost Christmas in Harrison Hot Springs, I think I told you that. Like, we were all there for 2.5 weeks at this one resort. So we cast and crew, which made this a very unique experience as far as filming goes. There were lots of people from Washington that had come up because it's a nice destination for vacations, but lots of people within the lower mainland of Vancouver that are Hallmark fans. And like, I couldn't walk down the street with, I love your movie. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And so I the joke was Ben was going to get an apartment and I was going to move there. But I get the sense that this is going to be like that, that weekend. It's just going to be so much,
Yeah.
I love getting to go and support the films that we make and get to meet the fans, because of course we communicate online and stuff like that, but to get to meet them and people already reaching out, I'm very excited. In fact, after this call I got to go and print off a bunch of photos. Like, even that I'm like, how many photos do I bring? What do I bring?
All of them.
Version?
All
of them.
Yeah.
So I got to go figure that out.
That's funny that you have to print your, like, I assume.
Well, no.
Do you get to
So
pick
people-
which ones they are? Is that what you get to do?
Yeah, so Taylor was like, "Oh, I just spoke to the organizers, and they're going to print a bunch of stuff for me, so I can send it to them and get them to do it." But there are some fun ones that I'm going to print because I just have, I just had some ideas of things I might,
I think it's
give
great.
away and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
anyway, there's like a print shop nearby that I know them. I'm going to go down.
Well,
and get
now,
some stuff prepped.
listen, all my freelance graphic design work is going to meeting you silly people at this con. I've bought photo ops. Now I'm going to wait in your line. Way to go, Ben.
That's awesome. Well,
Well,
listen, have a great time. I won't
Yeah.
see you, but have great holidays. And we very much look forward to having you back on when you can talk about what the
You
next
can
project.
talk about it.
Yes, sounds good. I look forward to it.
As always, you can email us at remarktheshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Remark the Show. And if you are not already following our good friend Ben, he told us to call him
Yeah,
Ben?
he told us we could call him Ben.
That's right. Benjamin Ayres is available on both Instagram and on Twitter as Benjamin Ayres. Check out his movies. Right now, you can still find Long Lost Christmas on the Hallmark Channel.
Ooh. All right,
Awesome.
good.
All right, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Ben.
you guys so much.
Thank
Seriously,
you.
really appreciate it. Okay,
Yeah.
bye-bye.